What's up, everyone? It's Dakota. I'm back again with another sweet modern deck, and this one is a deck that probably plays one of my favorite cards that's been printed in like the last few years. On top of just playing some very powerful spells that are become mainstays in the modern format. And so the deck you might already know, maybe not. Grinding Station, aka I've seen it be called like Blue Red Breach, like Breach combo and things like that. I think Blue Red Breach is kind of disingenuous because I mean, back in the day there was a Blue Red Breach deck that was playing through the Breach to put in like an Emrakul and stuff like that. But Grinding Station combo, we'll call it, essentially tries to assemble a combination of a Grinding Station, a Mox Amber, and where is it? Underworld Breach. So really quick to go over like the combo, essentially like the reason for playing this deck. Uh, if you have a Mox Amber, an Underworld Breach, and a Grinding Station on the battlefield, essentially you can use the Mox Amber if you have a Emery or a Ragavan in play to add 1 mana of any color that among the creatures you control. You want to have like an Emery in play. I've seen some versions running Urza, and I think Urza might be pretty good in this deck just because it's a very powerful creature on its own. Gives you some value, and is also another legendary permanent or really creature to have Mox Amber add mana for. But essentially, you could play Mox Amber, and you have a Grinding Station in play. You tap and sacrifice the Mox Amber and mill yourself for 3. And then with Underworld Breach, all of your cards in graveyard having escape, and the escape cost is equal to its mana cost plus 3 other cards from your graveyard, essentially means that you can go infinite with Mox Ambers. So you can play the Mox Amber, exiling the 3 cards that you just milled with the Grinding Station, put it into play, it untaps the Grinding Station, so then you can add mana with the Mox Amber, sack it, and essentially mill your whole deck until you get to Thassa's Oracle, and then you can cast Thassa's Oracle with the blue mana that you make off of Mox Amber or any other lands that you have like laying around to win the game. So essentially, how is this deck like facilitating that combo? How is it trying to piece it all together? Well, probably the 4 main, or really 2 different cards that have been a mainstay in red decks so far since they've been printed in Modern Horizons 2 in Dragon Rage Channeler, doing a great job of like filling the graveyard because when you cast non-creature spells, you can surveil 1. Obviously, you can get pretty aggressive too. Like you could just win games off of just playing like Dragon Rage Channeler, Ragavan, generating enough value and just killing your opponent that way. Emery is a card that was very popular way back when Oko was legal, and Urza was probably the best 4-drop from the previous Modern Horizon set. But Emery, being able to essentially be like a 1 mana 1/2 in some of the right circumstances, it's just having a bunch of these like free, like 7 free spells and then like a bunch of 1 mana spells. Emery could easily become a 1 mana 1/2. It mills 4 cards when it comes into play, and then you can choose an artifact from your graveyard and cast it that turn. Essentially, it'll let you cast like all of the artifacts that you have here. Milling those cards, like you can go and get a Grinding Station, you can play a Mox Amber if you need to really start looping. You get to the spells like Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat, just very efficient removal, very good at what it does. Unholy Heat being turned on a lot of the time, just for the fact that you have different cards, different card types that you can easily mill off of, like Emery's, and even just like incidentally milling yourself with like Grinding Station. Expressive Iteration, probably the best 2 mana cantrip that the modern format has to offer, just in the sheer versatility that you have with it. Giving a look at the top 3 cards, you put 1 in your hand, 1 in exile, 1 in the bottom of your library. A lot of the time, this is going to hit a spell that you can probably cast on the same turn. Like this deck has 7 hits for iteration that you could just exile like a 0 mana spell, put a land into your hand, and then just put a card that you don't need on the bottom. Very, very good cantrip. Feels like a draw 3 a lot of the time, even though you only really get 2 cards off of it. Still a really good rate for this card. Um, we kind of already went over some of the artifacts, but Four Measures Bauble, basically like a mainstay. Aether Spellbomb just acts as like a little bit of removal. in a way because it just gets to bounce a creature to its owner's hand. You can cycle it later to draw a card. Shadow Spear to pair with some of the constructs that Urza Saga makes is pretty good, and you can win games that way. Springleaf Drum just to make a little bit more mana, and Grinding Station obviously being one of the ways that we win the game. Underworld Breach, probably like my favorite card, definitely my favorite card from Theros Beyond Death, but like definitely my favorite card printed like in the last few years probably as well. Just super good card. Played this one in Pioneer when it was in the Lotus Field decks. It's just super awesome. Had a great time playing it. It was awesome. Um, Manabase, 10 or no, that's 8 fetch lands. 4 Tarn, 2 Flooded Strand, 2 Arid Mesa, Basic Island, 2 Mountains, some Spire Bluff Canals, Steam Vents, just as lands that can come into play untapped. This deck can win relatively early. I think theoretically there's like a turn 2 win if you play an Emery. If you're able to play like an Emery on turn 1, and you have obviously Mox Amber, Grinding Station, Underworld Breach. I think there's a turn 2, turn 3 kill, which is very hard for some decks just to interact with, or even like put in enough like Graveyard Hate for you to like not be able to beat it essentially. And of course, for Urza Saga in the mana base, Urza Saga is a really good card. Doesn't fetch up Grinding Station, which kind of sucks, but definitely getting Spellbomb, Shadow Spear, Springleaf Drum, or even just like fetching up a Mox Amber if that's like the only piece that you're missing, is pretty good in its own right. Sideboard, Engineered Explosives, pretty good against Rhinos, and some of the other like annoying like 1 and 2 mana things. Really is like something that like, you could attack against like someone who's like playing Ragavans and Dragon Rage Channelers and the sorts. Needle, Soul Guide Lantern, good targets with Urza Saga. Also just really good sideboard cards. Just to have Pithing Needle, you can kind of get people when you finally trigger the last chapter of Urza Saga. Soul Guide Lantern, essentially getting to do the same thing against like the graveyard decks and things like that. You can kind of get people that don't understand how like Urza Saga's like ability and when things come into play and stuff. So like definitely against like I would say weaker players, you can definitely get some free names like with Pithing Needle, probably naming a card that they need. Soul Guide Lantern, getting just like tag a card in their graveyard, and then just being able to blow it up to exile that opponent's graveyard as well if they try to do any shenanigans. Spell Pierce, cheap interaction. This deck really doesn't want to, I think, dilute itself with like cards that it can't really afford to play super early. So Spell Pierce is just kind of like a catch-all to, some of the free spells like the Force of Vigor and things like that. Herco's Recall, uh, honestly, I'm not really sure. I think it's just like another like way to kind of like balance problematic like artifacts for the deck. Spreading Seas just to mess with people's like mana. A pretty good card to have. 2 Force of Negation, free interaction, probably against like the Thoughtseize decks, so that you can 2 for 1 yourself, but really get to keep some of your more important combo pieces. And Fury because the format is dominated by the aforementioned 2 red cards that I pointed out earlier that are very good in this deck. So overall, that is the deck list. I got second place in a Modern Challenge, I believe, the past weekend, and also on the Ohio Valley Invitational circuit. It actually ended up going undefeated. I believe it was 7-0-2 in their tournament, and essentially like qualifying the player for that invitational as well. So the deck is pretty sweet. Obviously, can be a little weak to Graveyard Hate because of the fact that the whole combo is just like essentially milling your deck and then winning with Thoughts' Oracle. But can be really resilient in the sideboard, and sometimes you can just goldfish like turn 2 and turn 3 wins. And for anybody that has like a hand that's like half functional or just is not playing like counter spells and things like that, it's going to be very hard to have them beat you because you can just kind of go off before they can even like say for the Jun slash like green black saga decks, like they could just have a hard time like finding their Nihil Spellbomb unless they naturally draw it, and you can just go off before they can even like get it down, even if they saga on like turn 1. So but yeah, that's Grinding Station. Definitely a deck worth checking out. Definitely a deck worth playing if you can afford all the pieces or you just have all the pieces and stuff. Another like pretty like really good Ragavan deck, in my opinion. I think as long as decks like Living End and the sort are decks that can continue to dominate the format, then I think these decks will continue to see play as well until either the Graveyard Hate gets updated or really they just kind of ban like Ragavan or like Dragon Rage Channel or something like that, which I don't see them doing. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you enjoy the deck, go ahead and please give it a try. I'm actually really wanting to like kind of build into this deck. Just seems really sweet. Definitely on my alley. I'm a pretty big combo player, and I like a combo deck that does have a plan of just being able to be this kind of like grindy like value deck, just like Dragon Rage Channel and Ragavan can just win so many games on their own. But yeah, thanks you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please be on the lookout for more videos this week as I'm going to be diving into a little bit of Pioneer. Really like the format, and definitely with the Pro Tour coming back. Probably going to be getting into Standard and things like that as well. Just because it's the Pro Tour, like that's the dream, right? But anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next video.